Welcome back to the MLB Leans and Locks. We've got a busy one here on Sunday. We're going to dive right into it. A full slate, as always, here on the weekend, it seems. So I don't want to waste a lot of time. We rifle through stuff, a play, a thought, and then that's it, right? You don't want to sit here and look at me for 30 minutes, so we're not going to ask you to do that. Thumbs up, subscribe, please. Let's dive in. Detroit. Oh, man. The Giants and Tigers hanging it down. And Logan Webb is on the hill. Big time. Look, this is a guy just signed a big deal. He's going up against the Detroit Tigers. I don't know what you want from Detroit right now or what you're expecting from Detroit right now, withholding anything, but it's not going to happen. Maybe you ride the Webb wave. I don't know what it would be here, but look, the pitching matchup alone is going to scream that Webb is going to dominate just based on Detroit. Although, look, Matthew Boyd hasn't been getting crushed either. It's just such an overwhelming matchup in favor of San Diego. You probably want to open up with a play on the Giants, not the total. So we'll just take the Giants money line, lock it up. This is a great opportunity for Webb to come in fresh off that deal and dominate. So that's our first play as a lock. Not bad. It's not going to be all locks by all means, but, we're there. Guardians, Nationals. Beebs on the hill against, it's Patrick Corbin. It's Patrick Corbin Day in Washington, D.C., which means we take the Guardians on the run line. It's as simple as that. The Guardians need to hit. The Guardians need to put together a couple of opportunities here. This is not just going to be handed over to them by any means. Scoring runs, that's going to be a problem overall, I think, for maybe it's giving up runs, I would say more so, that Cleveland has had early on. If you wanted to point to a team that's playing pretty well right now. This is, again, you look at the pitching matchup and you think, well, where is the area to attack this? And it's going to be the first five, truly. I know we talk about the run line here, but it's Cleveland on the first five destroying Patrick Corbin. And how can you not? Seriously, I didn't want to keep doing this and just keep moving through this and, sprinkle a locks. I don't just flippantly throw out locks. But again, the discrepancy between pitching matchup here is hard to ignore when you're dealing with specifically Patrick Corbin. Shane Bieber doesn't have to be lights out. He's also not walking guys. So I'm fine with that. Come on, you're out of your mind out there telling me something else about trying to defend Patrick Corbin. Get out of here. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to take it. We lock up the Beebs and Cleveland first five on the spread, by the way, which is probably going to lay a half run. That's fine. Angels in Fenway. There's Angels in the Boston Fenway outfield crushing. Now, Reed Detmers, this is not good, I think, overall for either guy because you're dealing with two teams that can definitely crank some runs up. Is the pitching matchup enough? Who is going to be the guy that settles this game down? Let's start there. It's not going to be Garrett Whitlock. So I think we can take him out, right? Limited sample size from what you're seeing. It's just not going to be him. Reed Detmers is going to have to blank a lot of guys here. It's not easy. And that challenge in Fenway, look, Boston's not out of anything. They're just, Tampa Bay is on fire, and then they lost 2 straight, but they opened up at least. Boston, though, runs have been scored, right? And we see that at home. They've been just mediocre as far as record is concerned, but runs have been scored. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to this one here. Lean. It's at 9.5. I imagine this is probably going to move to 10 at some point. I don't think it dips. So let's go lean over 9.5 in Boston. Twins, Yankees. Woo. It always feels extra exciting. This is, I don't know why, but there's this added sense of excitement for me, at least, with this series. Garrett Cole, You've got Pablo Lopez on the other side. I mean, this should, if you just remove the at-bats for a second, this should be a pitcher's duel, should it not? I think these two guys, like somebody's going to get to either Lopez or Cole. And yeah, the odds would say that Lopez gets got first, but I don't know when. And his numbers have been pretty stellar. And you know, everybody's limited sample size. Let's be honest here. But, you know, I'm looking at a guy that is faced with a very difficult challenge in that bandbox of a stadium. And thinking, well, we've already seen him stretch. We've already seen him go deep in starts. The K rate's there. The inability to hit him is there. The first five becomes really appealing, knowing that you're going to have, like, probably at worst, you're going to have probably like a solo or maybe a 2-run shot. That's where I think going under the first five makes the most sense. Look, Garrett Cole, he's not invincible. And Lopez is going to have a long season to prove that he belongs in a conversation. I don't think that he will, and I don't think that Cole will be unblemished either. But first five is in this game seems the most reasonable play for me. I don't want to stretch this thing into a full play game. The total is super low at 7 as is. Bullpen comes in. It's volatile. I think under the first five total for me is my play. It's a lean, but it gets us there relying on the strength of really the two pitchers. Tampa, Toronto. What's going on in Tampa Bay right now? Well, they're in Toronto technically, but what's going on with Tampa Bay right now? Shane McClanahan kind of come back down to reality. I don't worry about the win-loss record. I worry about an ERA that's not below 1. Come on, Shane. You can do a little better. Just a little bit better. Alek Manoah, on the other hand, well, maybe there is a little cause for concern here. I'm not sure. But I don't think I want to bank or bet on a team like Tampa Bay getting swept out of the series. Do you? Where all of a sudden Tampa looks human, looks vulnerable. Hey, they weren't relying solely on scoring runs and amazing dominant pitching. There were other things involved. So if it just gets reduced to 1 on a night, you can easily have a dominant pitcher. You can easily hit 15. You can hit, have 15 hits. Doesn't transfer to runs. And you're going to lose that game. They were just to a T doing so many different things on top of that it was just amazing to watch. They're a great baseball team this early. And the problem has been Toronto and pitching and giving up runs, and that's where Alek Manoah is. He's a culprit in that, with an ERA just below 5 in a couple of starts. I'm going to take the Rays on the money line. And I'm going to go... I'm leaning here, but I'm going to take the Rays on the money line predominantly because I think the best angle is looking at the unlikeliness here that Tampa gets swept with limited offense. And that's where Alek Manoah steps in and invites and surrenders a couple of early runs. Now, all of a sudden, McClanahan's playing with a lead. I like that. We go to Miami, South Beach. Speaking of not looking human, or maybe rather looking human, this is not, I think, a typical situation where I'd say, all right, on one hand, you've got a combination of Zach Gallen and Sandy Alcantara. On the other hand, you've got a combined ERA that's north of 10. Wow. And it's not like one guy got hammered in his opening day start and that's it. This is pretty much what we've seen for a couple of starts right now for these guys. Zach Gallen, Sandy Alcantara are fast, dominant pitchers. They've got Ks involved. They've got a lot of things that they can rely on. Different pitches and both dominant in their respective forms here. Miami is prime for Ks. We know that. The total, though, at 7, this is where you counter the pitching, in my opinion. This is where you would look at these two guys from a skill set standpoint. Yeah. From a name recognition sake standpoint, past performance. Yeah. Yeah. Say, well, what have you done for me this year as far as defining lately? Would give me an indication that we can push forward and go over 7. Absolutely. Suspect pitching by these two guys is going to yield hits and base running opportunities. One of them will crumble within the first 5. It's just going to happen. It's in the books. It's already happened. It's not just going to be a flipping of a switch where Alcantara returns to Cy Young form and Zach Gallen returns to what we expect from him, which is, not going to win the Cy Young, but could be conversation. You never know. To Cincy, wow, 13-0. 13-0. And the Reds get Aaron Nola around. Aaron Nola, you don't know who Aaron Nola is. Nobody knows who Aaron Nola is. Nobody has any idea at all who Aaron Nola is. So, I don't think that, for me, there's a pathway I can just go back to revenge and say, yeah, that's the one. The Phillies bounce back from what? Getting buried? Bounce back from what exactly? They have insanely bad pitching. It's inconsistent. Even when they hit the baseball, they don't know how to turn that into any scoring opportunities. It's basically like, hopefully somebody hits a double or hopefully somebody hits a home run. That's basically it. Aaron Nola is just so bad and up and down, but more down than up. And it's disappointing because contract year, all that other stuff. But unlike Webb, nothing signed, nothing you can point to and say, yeah, he's going to come out fresh and fired. No. It's Great American. It's Sessa. It's Nola. It's not a matchup that would indicate anything really at all that give me confidence these two guys can handle the opposing hitting. You're going to see base runners. You're going to see scoring chances. You're going to see walks. You're going to see mistakes. Both of these guys. And this is how bad or inconsistent it's gotten for Nola. But both of these guys, to be even mentioned in this conversation, are just walking time bombs. Over first 5 total in Cincy. Just lock it up, please. Just lock it up. Both of these guys are going to struggle royally. Now, I get it. Speaking of royally, we had the Royals, and it didn't go well. I understand that. That was a lock we missed. Let me tell you what's going on at Bet365, and I'll keep going back to apologizing in a second. But New Jersey, Virginia, Colorado, Ohio, doesn't matter. 21 or older, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I need you to click the link below, sign up at Bet365. Deposit $10. It's going to turn into $200. All you need to do is just bet $1. Bet $1. That's it. $1. That's all. Simple stuff. And now all of a sudden you got $200 to play with at Bet365. We want you to take advantage of that clearly because it's here for you. All right, we move on. Kansas City, Braves, Royals. 2 straight, including the Bubic starts. Difficult, man. Difficult to see. Maybe this is the game. I don't know. Maybe, do we go right back to it? The run line's a little interesting here, but I think I'm just going to play it as safe as possible with this start. Wright and Greinke are 2 guys that are shaky, are 2 guys that you don't want to really look at. But, of course, the hitting, it's just this is going to take a monumental collapse or explosion on the other side, but collapse from Atlanta in the first 5 to not take advantage of Greinke. You're going to get walking and get some opportunities, but the Royals, on the other hand, have an even greater chance to do this with Wright. And that's going to be the chance to do that. So I think you go really or realistically, I think you have to take Kansas City, but I'm trying to figure out where. Let's talk through it. We have a second, right? I'm not going to take them in the full game. Depending on days off and what happens with Atlanta on a Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern getaway type, get out of their game. I don't want to bank on the Braves having all this raw firepower or fully firepower anyway. It's early in the season, but still. I think you go Royals, first 5 spread. I think you take the half run in the first 5 and bank on Wright making a couple of mistakes. The fact that the Royals, and I know that yesterday was our chance there with Bubic, but the Royals have a better chance of being settled through the first 5 with Greinke on the hill than Wright on there for Atlanta. Atlanta's the better team. It's not even close. I'm not making that argument. I'm focusing one time in the small game here. We move on. White Sox at home against the Orioles. Rodriguez versus Dylan Cease. What do you want from me here? First 5 spread for the White Sox, right? I mean, seriously, no money line, nothing messing around here. I'm leaning because it's the White Sox, although the White Sox are not the typical, it's the White Sox. It's just the White Sox aren't great. But we've expected that. It's Dylan Cease, man. I'm not going to give you much more than this. It's Dylan Cease. You've got just an amazing opportunity to mow this shit down. Let's do it. By the way, first 5. That's what we take the White Sox on. First 5, we lay the half run and just know that Rodriguez, that he just doesn't have enough to stay up with Cease. There's going to be many mistakes made in the first 3. You even want to take the first 3 for Chicago. I'm fine with that. I'm going first 5, though, and that's a lead. St. Louis. Wow, Pittsburgh, did you expect this coming out? A 9-6 baseball team that is now in this rubber match here. I don't know. Probably not. You probably didn't have Pittsburgh a game behind the league or the division leader, whoever that was, 15 games into the season. But as we've seen, pitching makes a major difference. And that's where we are in this game. Michaelis on the other side, the big one here is going to be Mitch Keller. And what he gets away with in this game. Because St. Louis, it's not enough, and it hasn't been enough against the Pittsburgh pitching for the most part in this series. And now you have a guy who the only real mistake you'll see is a 10.7, just under an 11% walk rate so far for Keller. The K rate's at 29. He's not giving up many hard hit balls, and it's going to be tough for Michaelis to just stay consistent. You'll see some Ks, I think, out there. Don't get me wrong. You won't see many base runners as a result of a walk, but you will see hits. And Pittsburgh is going to be able to light his ass up. I'm going right back. This is where we go dog. This is where we take advantage of the market. Still not respecting. That's probably not what it is, the term, but I'll take the Pirates on the money line. Seriously, it's a lean. Nothing to push here, except for the fact that St. Louis is not, from a pitching standpoint, they're not going to be able to maintain this consistency you're going to get from Keller. Michaelis is going to get hit and hit hard, and that's going to be a problem in the first 3-4 innings. To Oakland we go. All right, now it gets fun, right? Mets in town. You've got Buto versus Sears. This game should scream runs. It should scream the Mets just destroying. Not everything has to be contrarian. Not everything goes against the grain here. This is one where I think it's as simple as that. Take the Mets on the run line. You lean for now. We see what happens with anybody. Days off and all. It's a little bit later in the day. We have that benefit. But there's not a lot to spend for me on this game. It's as simple as it looks. All right? There's no bait. There's nothing like that. The total's probably sharper than not at 9, and it's going to be the majority New York Mets. I'm not saying that New York all of a sudden is just going to explode, although they have been scoring at a decent clip, but they're going to explode. 8-2, 9-3, something along those lines. Mets, run line, lean, but I like it. To LA, Dodger Stadium, Urias is on the hill against Drew Smyly. It's going to be tough for Chicago in this game. Chicago's going to really have to bide time. Chicago's going to have to come back in this game. The Dodgers are what we knew they would be, just losing in tighter, closer games. They're so good that at times they've just been losing closer games. I don't know if Chicago has the horses right now to outlast Urias in a game where their own pitcher is most likely going to be out in the first 4 or 5 innings. So Drew Smyly gets worked, as we've seen him already. And now all of a sudden the Dodgers up 3-4. How do you come back from that if you're Chicago? How all of a sudden, unless you chase on 1 inning, and that's probably during like a higher pitch count. So you have to buy time for the 5th, 6th inning? That's assuming you weren't getting mowed down in the first place. I'll go tail Urias here. Dodgers, again, we go on the run line for a favorite, but Dodgers run line here. I'm tempted to lock this up. I truly am because of the pitching discrepancy. I'll keep it as is for now. To Seattle we go. Rockies, can they hit? Can the Rockies hit Luis Castillo? Probably not. So you're not going to lay serious juice at over 3-1 for them on the on the money line, right? Are you going to attack them from the run line standpoint, knowing you'll get somewhat of a break, but not a huge break because they're 3-1 on the money line? Everything works in their favor here for Seattle. Everything. The Rockies on the road, Davis on the hill for Colorado. On the other hand, you've got Castillo, who was stellar. It just makes so much sense that Colorado would get disintegrated. I think, again, we target starting pitching in these a lot for leans, and that's usually looking at first 5s. Seattle laying a half run. I'd even lay a run in the first 5 for Seattle and feel confident on that. Castillo is not going to be touched. Maybe he makes a mistake. Maybe there's a solo home run or something like that, or a slap single. Something gets through to knock a guy around, but that's going to be it. And the other side of that is Seattle just is all over Davis. Mariners first 5 money line. All right, Padres, Brewers, and then we close out. Padres. I think this one with Yu Darvish, this one I am going to give him a little bit of a benefit. And we haven't done that with a lot of guys so far this early in the season, but this is where I would say, okay, things start to settle a little bit. And both of these guys have been hit to some extent, but even with Wade Miley and going up against San Diego, I think as high as this total is, the whole bet is predicated on Yu Darvish slowing down. I'm not going to mess with the first 5. I think overall, you're going to get a better price on that 7.5. And if you believe, like I do, that Yu Darvish has a sense of turnaround, or at least control and stability, then this is the best play on the board in this game, at least for me. Now, I'm not going through triples or anything like that. I'm just saying sides and totals. Yu Darvish under 7.5 is our lean. Final play of the night, Houston, Texas. Minute Maid is the spot. Well, what are we going to get from this Houston Astros team this year? What are you going to get out of this squeeze so far? Hey, they won a game. Imagine that. Texas is just kind of settled after that first couple of games. And Houston has kind of just settled after the opposite of that first couple of games. What's going to be the difference maker here? You've got Heaney on one hand, who has been frustrating, I would think. And you also have, Heaney comes off that 10K game. So maybe you can extrapolate a little bit more off this. And maybe you could attack Houston at home. The problem, though, is that Framber Valdez on the other side is going to provide some fits for Texas. I go back and forth here. It's an 8-run total, which I think is fair to go under. 6-7 is probably going to be our final score in that range. So maybe a little sweat, but that's fine. And then the other side of this is, well, why not just go with the guy in Heaney who can K and Valdez, who is the control that we've seen? Why not just attack the total and go under the first 5? Now, granted, it's going to be cut in half to some extent. Again, we just did this with San Diego. I'm trusting the process of strikeouts here for Heaney, and I'm looking at Valdez with the overall matchup that favors him, I would say, over Texas. And we're just going to go under 8. We are. Easy way to get out of here. Lock it up. All right? Hands up like on Chopped. We're done. Okay. That's all. Beautiful, right? Thumbs up, subscribe. We love it. We love it when you come over and hang with us on the Discord. Make sure you 6-1 on dailies today. Hit a couple of these NBA comeback plays as well. Don't worry. Follow me on Twitter. You'll see all the screen caps there. We want you over there. I'm going to give you half off the first week. All right? We'll see you next week.